Cypress Development Corp's flagship lithium project is located just east of Albemarle's Silver Peak mine in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. A 12-hole exploration drill program for lithium-enriched claystone on Cypress's 100% controlled properties is now underway. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the Pink's CYDVF, and on Frankfurt's C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Danielle Park, editor of the popular blog Juggling Dynamite. She's also president of Venable Park Investment Council, Incorporated. Happy New Year, which will happen just in a few days, Danielle.
Hey, Happy New Year to you, too.
What's your take on the new year? Is it going to be happy, prosperous times, or will it be a time of belt-tightening?
Well, I think that our client letter at the end of December is, focuses on the quote from Charles Dickens. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, and I think when you're coming through one of the longest up-cycle expansions that we've ever seen, and 2018 will be 10 full years since the last recession, you have to think we've got cyclical lows in unemployment again. We've got, as I say, almost a decade since the last recession, and we've never had a decade that has passed ever in the last, more than 100 years where we haven't had at least one recession in the economy within the decade. Normally you get more than one. So I think that, practically speaking, it's okay to say, things are, we've made progress in many ways. We've made progress in, some of the revelations about harassment in the workplace, for example, in 2017. I think in 2018 we may get more of that, but it may be a cathartic cleansing process to help restore some equilibrium again, some fairness in the workplace. That's a positive trend. I think, as you and I have talked about many times, the innovations in energy and in autonomous cars and in efficiency and not wasting as much. These are huge themes that humanity's making great progress on, and I think that will continue in 2018. So I think there's lots of things to look forward to. I just think we're coming to the end of the speculative phase, which has been driven by mania and whether it's cryptocurrencies, which have gone, full nut job in the past year. I think we're likely to see some sobriety come into things looking into 2018. I think we're probably in a phase where people are losing. We've seen in the polls that people are losing a sense of blind optimism, shall we say, in the power of political parties to turn around or save or transform the math before us, and I think that's a good thing because that was never going to be the case. So I'm hoping that 2018 is a cleansing period where many of these antiquated models, which have plagued us for the last 20 years, really, they were revealed as destructive in 2008-9, but they were bailed out and reinvigorated, and so we're going to suffer through another revelation of that kind where people are shocked to realize that, the people that were supposed to be doing the prudent financial management haven't been doing it and have actually been looking out for themselves first and foremost again, to the great peril of the financial system and funding for critical projects that need cash set aside and all that. So I think we're coming into that, which will feel like the worst of times again. But again, we needed to have that because we didn't learn the lessons in 2008-9 appropriately, and so knowing how these 17 to 20 year cycles typically work, we're now 18 years from the peak in 2000, and these secular periods typically have 3 major downturns in them, where the school of thought that was widely circulated at the start becomes revealed to be destructive and non-helpful and is finally thrown out, and then you get some tabula rasa and start again. And I think that I'm hopeful that we're going to get that in the next year or so. when the asset prices begin to mean revert, and then people realize they didn't really get away with free money. I think there's been an obsession right now with winning and trying to, the lure of easy money, winning, whether it's in, buying cryptocurrencies that go up 1,000% in a year, or whether it's, speculating on real estate, flipping, stocks, trading, all this obsession with everything except, looking at what actual fundamental change and improvement we can make. And I think that we've been distracted a lot by that in 2017. So going into 18, I'm more optimistic that we're coming to kind of a tipping point in all these themes. And that will actually be productive, because then people will realize it comes back down to, individual discipline and daily habits that make us strong, that make the community strong, that make the country strong, and not all about, doubling down on putting all your chips on bets, so to speak.
We'll have more with Danielle Park right after the break.
MGX Minerals is revolutionizing the new energy economy with patented lithium extraction technology, replacing traditional solar evaporation using low-cost, low-energy nanofiltration. The first system of this paradigm shift technology is currently being commissioned. MGX Minerals trades on the CSE, symbol XMG, the OTCQB, symbol MGXMF, and Frankfurt, symbol 1MG. For more information, visit our website, mgxminerals.com.
Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Rainy Mountain Royalty Corp., RMO, on the TSX Venture Exchange. Rainy Mountain's Brunswick property is located in the Rideout Shear Zone in Ontario, with grab samples running as high as 32 grams per ton gold. A follow-up drill program to test numerous targets located by recent groundwork is planned for early 2018. Please visit our website at rmroyalty.com.
Welcome back. We're chatting with Danielle Park. Danielle, we're 6 months away from pot being legal for recreational use in Canada, and I'm hearing so many governments across the country, provincial governments, saying we're not going to be ready, we're going to have all kinds of policing costs, we don't know how to regulate it. How come nobody has called the states of Alaska, Colorado, California, Washington, and Oregon and asked them, how did you do it? Because I live right next door to Washington State. I talk to my family there. They haven't seen any difference in activity, policing, anything since pot was made legal there, because the same people who used it illegally use it legally, and it hasn't caused riots in the street or children becoming pot addicts.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that they have consulted many of those. I think there's a certain sort of Chicken Little response of some people running around panicking about how, this will undermine Western civilization, but I think that's an overstatement by a large amount. We probably will increase some tax revenue, and as I've said, Canada needs to look for new growth areas because, frankly, our old ones are, at the end of the line for a while here. So we need to figure out new ways to bring in revenue, and I think that this is an obvious one. And, there's no defensible argument one can make for the, legalization of alcohol and not marijuana. I mean, the law enforcement people will tell you that when they show up at a party or a place where people have been consuming alcohol, they're always more concerned for safety and, random outbursts than if they show up to a place where people have been imbibing marijuana. It's just, it's a totally different impact on human behavior. So I think from a safety concern, I don't think there's any justifiable argument. And from a tax revenue perspective, we certainly need the money. So, I think that's really the most important aspects of it.
Isn't it also one of the most effective ways to fight crime, because the biggest money maker for organized crime is marijuana?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the actual percentages. I thought perhaps there was more revenue coming from harder drugs in terms of organized crime. And, we've certainly seen great devastation socially from the really hard drugs and the fentanyls that have been killing people, mowing them down. So it would be great to get some control over that particular sector, and I don't think that marijuana really is going to be competing for those dollars, so to speak. I think they're completely different categories.
One of my sources in the States, Michael Rivero, said the biggest opponents of legal marijuana have been the tobacco and alcohol industries. They don't want the competition.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to, I think, get over that. And certainly one thing we know about humans is they love to medicate themselves. We are all, our poisons may be different, but we have a very big theme of self-medication, and I think, part of that is probably the great distraction and concern we have about daily life on planet Earth, right from the distancing from the natural world and our obsession with digital and online and lack of physicality and exercise and all those things make anxiety high. And I think marijuana is something that people will look to help reduce their anxiety, which there seems to be an epidemic of anxiety in the world at the moment. So I'm hopeful that not just medicating it, but actually getting to the core of what we can do to be healthier as a species and to help our children. I really think in 2018 that we adults need to think about what we can do to help our children feel more confident and hopeful about the future. We're looking at, I hear a lot of hyperbole today. I hear people say how, many commentators will talk, for example, say the world's never been more divided, or America's never been more divided and all that. I think that's very much overstating it. I think that if you look back and you spend any time studying history, you see that human life has been full of all sorts of upheaval and, great unrest in various periods, and yet we keep pushing forward. So I think now we have legitimate challenges before us, and I don't think we can just afford to throw our hands up and say, que sera, sera, or leave it in the hands of a God. I think that, we need to take responsibility for the actions and choices we make in our day-to-day life. I like to say we are not just hopeless, victims. We are not just helpless members at a casino where, we can't do anything more constructive than gamble and bet. We can actually, and I think now is the time. We need to look at how we're feeding ourselves, how we're growing our food system. There's so many exciting technological advances that have come through the vertical farming, the LED lights we can now use. There's all sorts of great ways we can nourish humanity today that technologically were not possible, 30 and 40 years ago. So we've got so much good stuff to work with now. I'd love it if we could just, focus on things that matter and really focus on making us a healthier species here as we move into the next decade.
We'll have more with Danielle Park right after this.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the pink symbol ABN-AF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Keep informed. Receive our weekly recap of thought-provoking articles, podcasts, and radio delivered to your inbox for free. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage, HowStreet.com. Welcome back. We're chatting with Danielle Park. Danielle, looking to the new year, I noticed in one of your recent blogs that when it comes to energy, Australia now has a solar-powered train. The Netherlands has a train line that runs on wind power. Are these encouragements for the future where you don't have to use messy, polluting materials to power your life?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, obviously the Australia train is rather a prototype. It goes on a 3-kilometer track, and there's battery storage where the developers are planning to have various charging implements installed at different stations and different ways to collect energy as it goes. But it's really just an example of some of the really cool things we can do now technologically to improve our lot. So not just to reduce our demand for fossil fuels with all of its connected horrific environmental impacts, but also just for cleaner air, for a quieter environment. If you go back to this idea of why is anxiety in humanity at such a fevered pitch today, I think that it has to do with our, as I say, disconnection and sense of unsustainability about the natural world and our place in it. And I think that many of these innovations, whether they be, solar-powered transport, wind-powered transport, whether it's turning car parks into vertical farms because we're going to need so much less places to park cars in the next decade as we move away to shared and autonomous transportation. There's so many awesome innovations that are here that are going to give us back more green space, for example, give us more opportunity to interact with green environment, which again, if you're talking about how to subside anxiety in humans, that's one of the ways that's been documented, many, many times. So I think more quiet, more clear air, more green space, more opportunity to be peaceful and thoughtful instead of running around like, chickens with our head cut off. I think this is where, we need to get more thoughtful about all of that. And the good news is that it's happening. Like, it's not as if, none of this has started. It's widely underway, and it's all over the world, regardless of whether you've got a government that's pro these ideas or not. I mean, you saw the Trump government or the FCC recently vote along the Republicans, voted in favor of removing net neutrality for the Internet. And that is going to be challenged now, because I think we're in a time where people want to think of, we have to have certain things that are core utilities and infrastructures for humanity on Earth. And the net neutrality idea was that the Internet is a public utility. I think water systems have to be seen as a public utility. We have to stop having corporations come in and take our water out from under us, bottle it in plastic, sell it back to us, and toss all the plastic in the ocean. These are the models that are antiquated now, given the new capabilities and the reality of life on Earth. And I think we have so many wonderful challenges and bright people working on solutions. I think the biggest challenge any of us can do as we enter into the new year is to open our mind, to stop thinking that things can only be the way they've been in the past, because that is a true sign of someone who is too old and too out of step. Whether you're 20 when you think that way or whether you're 100 when you think that way, are you helping or are you hindering? I think that should be what we reflect on in the new year.
Danielle, I hope you have a great New Year's.
Yes, you too, Jim.
My guest has been Danielle Park, editor of the popular blog Juggling Dynamite. She also has a great website, Not So Common Sense. That's a podcast, isn't it?
Yes.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. Find us on Twitter at HowStreet. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. If you have any questions for our guests or the show, you can send them to info@HowStreet.com. I hope everyone has a happy new year. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.